you guys? This is Gooddeeds, and I'm Dr. Renee Sunday. We're actually hanging out with the NFL Former Players Association. You know, we're ready for the football, the Super Bowl. We're just going to have an awesome time. And guess what we're going to do, because we love you so. We're going to actually bring the event to you. Just awesome wisdom, knowledge that you can apply to your life. You know, I know the young people and all, we spend a lot of money for the Super Bowl. But guess what? These legends from Super Bowl #1, yes, #1, is actually here to give us wisdom and things that I said before that we can apply to our life. So I want you to let your friends know, your family know, and just sit back and enjoy. And you know I love you, love you, love you. This is Gooddeeds, and I'm Dr. Renee Sunday.
And all the little white boys went to day camp in College Park, Georgia. Just us, of course. And the high school coach runs the day camp. So Bill Badgett, the most intimidating presence in the history of the world, including Vince Lombardi, former Georgia Bulldog, he looks up at me. He weighed about 800 pounds, and he was about 6'3", and he says, "Bill Curry, you're going to play football." It wasn't like it was a question. So I'm going into the 8th grade. And at College Park, the good news is, it was grades 8 through 12. That was senior high school. The good news is you were going in with the big boys. The bad news is you were going in with the big boys. So the next thing I knew, I'm standing in a locker room, and they expect me to take my clothes off in front of the rest of the guys. I had never done this in my life. They're gonna make fun of me. I was about to cry when the quarterback came over and said, "Look, just come over here behind it." So we put the nasty equipment on. It's about 100 degrees, and Saul knows about this. No air conditioning, no water, no nothing. Just the smell of the locker room would make you pass out. And the CDC could do years of studies on the cultures that were growing in the locker room. It was so nasty, and I hated it. And they put this stuff on, and put this stupid headgear on. I missed the leather headgears by 1 year. My plastic Rydell broke. I would not turn it in, because the one they would give you if you turned in your broken helmet was a leather helmet. And the Gipper wore those, and I was not going to wear the leather helmet. So I'm out there, and then they start blowing whistles, and people start running into each other, and they're screaming, and there's profanity, and they're knocking me out, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna quit. I hate this. I am not running around this field. I'm not getting smashed. I'm not getting screamed at anymore. I'm turning this stuff in, and I'm going home. I'm going back up, and further, I could see the baseball. At College Park, you can see the baseball field from the football field. So the pitching mound was right up there where I belong, on my road to the New York Yankees. And so but I had a problem with the quitting thing, you see, because my father lived at our house. And you didn't quit nothing at the Curry house. You didn't have to go out. He didn't make me go out. But if you go out for the team, you're not going to let the guys down. You're not coming home. You're going to stay. So I was stuck. And it got worse before it got better. The assistant coach takes us over after about 2 weeks. There were only 11 new guys, because it was a small program. And he starts assigning positions based on physical talent. So Ronald was a halfback because he could run fast. Tommy was the quarterback because he had a good arm. And he placed all the guys based on physical merits at all the good positions, until finally there was one position left that nobody wanted to play, and one short, fat, future New York Yankee standing over there picking my nose. I didn't care what he did with me, but one thing, I did not want to be a center. Nobody wanted to be a center. And Coach Shattuck said this brilliant thing. "Well, Bill," and there were 10 positions filled. "Well, Bill, I guess you're going to be the center." And I thought, no kidding, Shattuck. Actually, I thought something else, but we're being videoed here. So I walk over, and then he said another brilliant thing. "Well, Bill, guess you're going to have to learn to hike that ball." And I thought, no kidding, Shattuck. Now, let's talk about this hiking the ball thing. You got this oblate spheroid. It's hard. It's 13 pounds per square inch. And you want me to take this and pull it really hard. Where? Right up here? Are you kidding me? And Tommy Fields is going to put his hands where? I don't want his hands there. What if he moves his hands early, Coach? This is a complicated transaction we're contemplating here. I don't want to be hiking the ball to Tommy Fields. And furthermore, for the next 20 years, during which I hiked the ball every single day of my life, I want you to know that our footballs were always properly inflated. Know that. So sure enough, I had to learn to hike that ball that day. Worst thing that could have happened to short, fat, lazy Bill Curry, right? Wrong. A few years later, I learned to hike that ball to Billy Lothridge and Stanley Gann at Georgia Tech. And at the end of my college career in the Senior Bowl, I learned to hike the ball to Joe Namath. And a few months after that, I learned to hike that ball to Roger Staubach and John Heward and Bob Timberlake and Craig Morton. And the week after that, I learned to hike that ball to Bart Starr and then Zeke Bratkowski. And a couple of years after that, I learned to hike that ball to John Unitas and Earl Morrill. And in various games and on various teams, I learned to hike that ball to Dan Pastorini, James Harris, Darryl LaMonica, Lynn Dawson, Bob Greasy. So that which appeared to be the worst possible outcome for short, lazy Bill Curry was the best thing that could have happened. It's the only position in all of sport, because I couldn't run, I couldn't make people miss. It's the only position in all of sport that would have allowed me to have a career against the great athletes like this. So one of the great things about football is, no, we didn't always love Coach Lombardi, but we liked him a lot when these things came in the mail. And I didn't like center until I learned it was the only place I could play. And so you learn things that benefit you for the rest of your life. And for the Carolyn Newton Project, it took me 6 years. She would not go out with me. She wouldn't even speak to me the first 3 years. But last December 15th, we celebrate our 53rd. Life works in strange ways if you just don't quit. And sometimes you feel like quitting and you just can't. There are too many people counting on you. And the great teams, these two teams that are playing, the real message of the Super Bowl, if I speak to youth groups, and I know Saul does too, I hope you do because you're great. Yeah. The teams that get to the Super Bowl, the teams that win, it's not because they have the best players. Usually it's not. It's because they love each other. Yeah. Because they will not let each other down. They will not let each other down. And so whether you like one team or one player or not, the ones that win, they like each other and they love each other. And it doesn't matter what color their skin is. It doesn't matter where they're from. And it doesn't matter what the religion is. It matters that this is my teammate and I'm not letting him down. That's the stuff that matters.
No question. Yes.
As I listen to you, and you as well, it appears that you have a strong sense of spirituality. And I know that the game is different now than it was back then. How much or how big was it for you to tap in? Did you have to tap into your faith, your strength, and in order to survive the game, I guess?
Well, I'm gonna just tell you like it is. I had to tap into my faith every day, because them 2 a day, sometimes it get rough. And I had the worst of everybody because I ran kickoffs and punt. So if practice started at 9 o'clock in the morning, most guys would get there at 8:30. I had to be there at 8 o'clock because we were going to catch punts and kickoff 30 minutes before anybody hit the field. So a lot of days, it's 100 degrees in Kansas City.
The long snappers were out there with
you. Yeah, you're right. You know, it get 100 degrees in Kansas City, and we finished practice, and them guys are going in. Coach said, y'all stay out and catch some punt. So you got to stay out there another 30 minutes. So them guys are eating lunch, getting a nap. So you look at, you say, man, I don't even know if I'm going to go in. I might as well sleep out here. We'll be back out here in another hour. So, you know, you had to tap into faith. And I promise you this, if you show me somebody who don't have faith, something wrong with them. Because a lot of time, faith will get you through. So, not only then, but to this day, and I will tell players, sometime when it get rough, just relax and ask God to show you the way, and he will. Because he's never left me alone, and that's who have gotten me through a lot of things in life.
We all come to moments of truth, and we all make big mistakes. And we become that which we think and that which we believe. There are two pains in life. This is another football lesson, and I'm not going to start moralizing here, but this is just a fact. It's not original with me, but it's the truth. Two pains in life, the pain of discipline, the pain of regret. You choose. And every time you choose, every choice you make, whether it's to be hateful or prejudiced or whatever, or whether it is to do the right thing and love somebody that may not be lovely to you, every time you make a decision like that, you're increasing the probability that you're going to make a similar decision the next time you're in a moment of truth. So that you choose well, you take the honorable path, and you do the right thing, even though it may be really hard, and you show up to catch the extra punch, and you stay out there to do the long snap when you're feeling sorry for yourself, and you beg God to get you through it. Then the next time you're faced with that, there's more likelihood you're going to do it again, because what we really are as human beings, we're creatures of habit. So when you're in the crunch and your moment of truth, and you're faced with this opportunity to do something foolish and wrong and selfish, or to do the right thing, usually we do what we've been doing. So back to the great team thing. Why do the great teams seem to mount those 2-minute drives more often than others? I'll tell you why I think so. Because when we show up as a team, somebody's recruited a kid from South Central LA and another kid from the hills of North Georgia, and they've been trained to hate each other's guts by our sick culture. And we come in the locker room and we make them locker next to each other. And they don't like each other. They'll come to me and say, I don't like him, Coach. I said, well, I didn't bring you here to like everybody. I brought you here to learn how to be a man. And you give that guy a chance. Would you do that? Yeah, I guess. So then they in and out of the locker room. You can't even get your shirt off in football by yourself. I got to go, Saul, can you give me a pull? Can you help me get my jersey on over my shoulder pads, on and off? And what happens is those two young men begin to realize that sweat smells the same on everybody. And it's not different. It is the same. And when I get busted in the mouth, that blood's the same color as my brother here. So now we get in the fourth quarter with two, and I'm playing my 23rd football game in a row. If you win the Super Bowl, you're going to play 23 football games. We played 6 exhibitions then, and maybe 1 or 2, give or take, but you play, that's a lot of football games in a row. And so there are plenty of times that you want to quit. But just here's how it feels for us. A minute and 20 on the clock, you got 1 timeout, we're down by 4, we got 80 yards to go, and it's 105 degrees. I've already lost 14 pounds of dehydration, and I wasn't very big when we started, and I just broke my nose again, and I don't want to block Joe Green. I don't care about winning the game. I do not want another Super Bowl. I don't want a paycheck. I don't want anything except to go suck on the oxygen. I just want to quit. And in football, you can quit a lot of ways. You don't have to leave the field. All you got to do, if you're a center, all you got to do is turn your shoulders like that and let Joe Green run back there and do what he does, quarterback. And we can all go home, see? And nobody would know the difference, right? Wrong. There's a still small voice. It's a little flame that never flickers. And we all know who that is. And that little voice said, don't you dare quit. Don't you dare. You suck it up. You keep your pads straight. You keep your shoulders square. You move your feet. And then you look next to you, and here's this buddy, it's my brother, and he's just as tired as I am. And now I've got all the motivation I need because I am not letting him down. That's what the great teams have. And that is deeply spiritual. It's mostly spiritual.
Thank you so much for taking time out to be here. I just have a lot of young people will be watching. Any wisdom or knowledge, because the world, quote unquote, a lot of people don't have hope. And a lot of young people will be watching, and adults as well. Any wisdom that they can actually continue to walk out their purpose, just like you guys have done so wonderfully.
Well, we all walk on a narrow path. And we make choices. You could fall to the right, which is the good side, or you can fall to the left, which is the bad side. And sometimes young men fall on the wrong side. I always say it'll take you a half a second to make a decision that affect you for the rest of your life. So you got to be a leader, not a follower. So if a young man come to you and say, let's go and steal this car, first of all, you got to look at that young man and say, you stealing. That's not your friend. See, you got to choose right from wrong. I would guarantee you if we went to the prison system right now, 70% of the guys in prison followed their buddies, and they got caught up in something. And that was that 1/2 a second, they made that decision to follow him instead of doing what's right. People will help you. I guarantee probably everybody in this room, if there's a young man that's doing something and you can help him, you'll help him. Or a young lady. But when you see him doing wrong, you don't want to get no way close to him. You want to stay as far away as possible. So all you got to do is remember, I'm blessed. Everything I have, people help me. People still help me to this day. But I know one thing, I don't have any magic. And I love Bill just like I would anybody else because I think Bill loved me. But if I go treat Bill wrong, what do I expect but Bill to treat me wrong? So the young people got to understand, the society owe you nothing. But you can get everything if you say, hey, let me challenge my life and do things right. And people will help you.
Can't compete with that, but I do have a thought for young people, and I have the privilege of speaking and working with young people a lot, and I love you too. And when you look out there, and it looks like a bunch of gods running around, they're just terrified, angry, gritty guys. Every single one of us. There aren't any Sunday school teachers between the white lines, none. It's a brutal, demanding, harsh, you hit me, I'm gonna hit you back world. That's what that is. And we don't apologize for that. There's something in the human psyche that seems to demand that. You go to Rome, you see the Colosseum. Those guys are out there, that was the real deal. We put on pads and we shake hands after the game if we're behaving ourselves. And so maybe we're a little more civilized than previous civilizations. Maybe not, I don't know. But here's the lesson, I think. If I were asked just one thing that I could teach young people, it would incorporate the two pains, the pain of discipline, the pain of regret, and it would be this also. Every single one of those guys at some point took responsibility for his life. He said no to the guy that wanted to steal the car. No, thank you. No, and don't you do it. I'm not going to be near you when that happens. He took responsibility. He made good decisions. He took responsibility for his life. He understood what Saul said a few minutes ago. Nobody owes you anything. And he made his own way, and he made that team through the two-a-days, through the extra time on the practice field. He paid the price. Every single one of those guys did that. And every human being can see that and resonate with that and make a decision. I'm going to take responsibility for my life. And when you take responsibility, God will help you and will move mountains for you. But you got to keep going, and you got to choose to go and choose well. That's the lesson of our sport.
And the other thing is, I have a 16-year-old grandson, and he's a great athlete. Plays football, baseball, basketball. He's never made a grade other than an A in school. He made 2 B's, and that was the last year. And he always said, well, I got to get me a scholarship. I said, hey, make all A's, you get you a scholarship. So Harvard is recruiting him, the University of Miami, Birmingham, the University of Birmingham, Alabama, all of them recruiting him. But I told him, I said, hey, you know what you got to do? He said, what's that? I said, you got to outwork everybody. I said, if you look at a gang and you see this guy doing something great, I said, I guarantee you he worked harder than everybody else out there. I said, if you work hard enough, you get reward. It don't happen. Bill can tell you, there's a lot of guys have all the ability in the world, but they don't work. So you can always figure out how to beat that guy, outwork him. The great guys outwork everybody.
Tell him to go to Harvard.
That's what hey, trust me. I've told him, he don't want to hear it, but I said, hey, so he said, why? I said, man, if you go to Harvard, you're in an elite class. I said, you can name your price. But he'll probably go because he really listen at me. In fact, he'll be here Sunday because he said, oh, I got to go because my grandfather's going to be there. So he'll be here Sunday. So if you all come Sunday, you get a chance to meet him.
Yeah, those are a couple of things I want to ask before we wrap up because we're getting on in time. First of all, I ask both of you about the Super Bowl and Atlanta. We've had the game here twice. We're building a new stadium downtown with the hopes of getting the great game back to the city. Talk about the chances of the Super Bowl coming back here and what makes Atlanta a good place to host a game like the Super Bowl.
Well, number one, and you know, as bad as Atlanta played the last year, you still have to take your hat off to Arthur Blanks for having the insight to build a stadium like that, to bring. Atlanta will get the Super Bowl. They're going to get the Super Bowl, there's no doubt. But Arthur Blanks, to me, have the same as Ted Turner. He's trying to do something for the people of Atlanta. And I can understand. You know, I played for 14. You know who I cheer for? The Atlanta Falcons. Not because I live here. I can't understand how people say, well, I cheer for New Orleans, I cheer for Carolina, I cheer for Atlanta. In fact, when we played the Cincinnati Bengals, and we were doing a tailgate, so a lot of Bengals fans came through. So the guy said, y'all know who scored the first touchdown for the Cincinnati Bengals? So who? So that guy right there. So the guys come up and said, why you got on Atlanta Falcon jersey? I said, because I live here. He said, but you played for Cincinnati. I said, I don't care. I said, I played for them. They paid me, and I played, and we had a good time. I said, but I live in Atlanta now. But we will get the Super Bowl. And, you know, Arthur Blanks is doing think about the money it's going to bring to Atlanta. We're going to get the NCAA championship. We're going to have big concert. There's so much that stadium is going to bring to Atlanta until the impact, people haven't even looked at it. They just looking at, well, the Falcons going to play in this big new stadium. The impact financially of what's going to happen to Atlanta, we can't even measure it for this stadium. Because from what Jerry Jones say, he have to take his hat off to Arthur Blank. This is a stadium, the best stadium he's ever seen.
One of the really great privileges I had was to be the underqualified young head coach at Georgia Tech. You play in the NFL for a long time. You play for Vince Lombardi and Don Shula and Bobby Dodd, which I did, all of those great coaches. It makes you, it's very deceptive. It makes you think you know a lot about football when you know nothing except one thing. I learned one thing in the NFL, and that's how to survive as an offensive center. That's all. That took every ounce of grit and guts that I had. In football, we'll test your guts all day, every day, for as long as you play. And so I thought I was smart, and I was not. I didn't understand recruiting. I didn't understand fundraising. I didn't understand facilities. I didn't understand a lot of the things that you have to have, especially if you're going to coach at Georgia Tech. Because at Georgia Tech, there's deadly seriousness about academics. Playing for Bobby Dodd, and people, my buddies think I'm lying about this. We had Saturday morning classes. I might have calculus and statistics at 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, and at 2 o'clock we played Alabama. And you better be in those classes. It's the only reason I graduated, because my football coach made us go to class. He loved us too much to let us screw it up. So I come back to be the head coach, and we had lost our way. It was all of our faults. We had done a poor job in the community. We had alienated much of the community, the very part of the community that ought to be, and Sam knows exactly what I'm talking about. Well, into my office walks Andrew Young. I had met him a couple of times, but we weren't friends, not buddies or anything. And after about a half hour, it was clear he intended to help Georgia Tech. And I said, why are you doing this? And he said, because every child that you bring over here is going to be a responsible husband, father, member of the school board, active in the church. He's going to have a job. He's going to have a diploma from Georgia. You are going to make him graduate, aren't you? I said, yes, sir, yes, sir. He said, that's why I'm going to help you. Well, I didn't know he was going to become mayor. He didn't either. But he becomes mayor. Andrew Young showed up every single Saturday and helped us recruit for Georgia Tech. It was legal then for the mayor to do a thing. At Georgia State, same thing, and it's legal there now because his name is on one of our buildings. So I got to be inside in the feeling of refusing to hate each other, incorporating the business structure of Atlanta with the African American community. And Maynard Jackson, before Andy became mayor, Maynard helped us just as much. In fact, we had this one kid we were trying to get to visit us my first couple of weeks on the job. His name was Herschel Walker. And we finally got Herschel to come because we sent a limousine to Wrightsville to drive him up here. That was legal at the time. Maynard walks in on Sunday morning and he says, I'd like to present you with a replica of the Phoenix. And he had this big silver plate with the Phoenix, the symbol of Atlanta, and he gives it to Herschel, which was a blatant violation. And I'm just saying, God, what do I do here? You can't do that, Maynard. You can't. I said, Herschel, you can't have that. Herschel said, he said, thank you, I understand that, Coach. He just took it home with him. But to have been there for all of that, and to answer, that's a long-winded answer, but we have so much to offer in this community that other big cities don't have because they didn't get it together. And that's not to say we don't have racism, we do. But it's less acceptable in Atlanta to be a racist and to be a jerk and to act a fool, even if you think you got everything together, than it is in other places. That's just a fact. Herb Adderley, the great future Hall of Fame cornerback. This might have been during the week of the preparation for the Super Bowl. He said, Curry, let me ask you something. 1966, if I come to Atlanta, you take me to lunch? I said, sure. He said, no, I mean downtown Atlanta in a big time restaurant. Sure. I was naive. I didn't know quite what I was saying, but I would have given the same answer anyhow. He showed up. We did it. We went to the Magnolia Tea Room, and I'm not bragging and I'm not complaining.
Hello. This is Gooddeeds, and I'm Dr. Renee Sunday. I know you had an awesome time just hearing the great information that we heard from our awesome two legends. I know you did. I actually was super excited that I can apply those things to my life. Now, just remember that we want you to enjoy the game. The Super Bowl is amazing, great halftime show, great ads, the commercials. The thing to remember is you need to walk out your destiny in life. We need each other. That's the main thing that the guys was trying to tell us. And I want you to connect with us. You know how to connect with us, www.reneesunday.com. I love you. See you next time. This is Dr. Renee Sunday, and this is Gooddeeds. See you later. Bye-bye.